Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Neil Brian Galva, and I want to start this video with a question that might change how you think about studying forever. What if I told you that most students are studying completely wrong, and that's why they're spending hours and hours with textbooks but still struggling to remember anything? Here's the thing that absolutely blew my mind when I discovered it. There's actually a massive body of scientific research on how we learn and remember information, but almost nobody teaches these evidence-based study methods. Today, we're going to change that. So, in this video, I'm going to break down the most effective study techniques based on decades of cognitive science research. We'll cover why reading and highlighting are actually terrible study methods, the power of active recall and spaced repetition, how to take notes and actually help you learn, and the study techniques that literally transform your academic performance. Now, I want to be upfront. I'm not just talking theory here. These are the exact methods I use to excel at my university, and they're the same techniques that top students around the world use to achieve incredible results while studying less than their peers. By the end of this video, you'll understand why most traditional study methods are ineffective, and you'll have a toolkit of evidence-based techniques that can revolutionize how you learn. So, let's dive in. Let me start by completely destroying something you probably think in studying, reading and rereading your notes or textbooks. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Simple reading and rereading texts or notes is not actively engaging with the material. It's just rereading your notes. Think about it this way. Reading is a passive process. Your brain doesn't have to work very hard when you're just moving your eyes across the page. And here's the key insight from cognitive science. The harder your brain has to work to retrieve information, the stronger that neural connection becomes. This is why highlighting is also largely ineffective. When you highlight text, you're not actively engaging with the material, you're just marking it with pretty colors. Research shows that highlighting and underlining are weakly related to improved learning outcomes. So what actually works? The answer is active studying techniques that force your brain to work harder. They're the most effective methods. Active recall. This is simply testing yourself on the material without looking at your notes. Instead of rereading about photosynthesis, close your book and try to explain the process from memory. This forces your brain to actively retrieve the information, which strengthens the neural pathways. The Feynman technique. Named after physicist Richard Feynman, this involves explaining concepts in simple terms, as if you're teaching them to someone else. If you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it well enough. Creating your own quiz. Instead of just reading your notes, turn the information into questions and test yourself. This transforms passive reading into active retrieval practice. The key principle here is that learning should feel difficult. If studying feels easy and comfortable, you're probably not learning as effectively as you could be. Now, let's talk about one of the most powerful learning techniques ever discovered, spaced repetition. This is based on something called the forgetting curve, discovered by psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus in the 1980s. Here's what Ebbinghaus found. When we learn something new, we forget it exponentially over time. Within 24 hours, we've forgotten about 50% of new information. But here's the crucial part. If we review the information at spaced intervals, we can dramatically slow down the forgetting process. The magic happens when you review information just as you're about to forget it. This creates what's called desirable difficulty. Your brain has to work harder to retrieve the information, which makes the memory stronger. Here's how to implement spaced repetition. Day 1, learn the material for the first time. Day 2, review the material, first repetition. Day 7, review again, second repetition. Day 21, review again, third repetition. Day 60, final review. Each time you successfully recall the information, you can space out the next review even further. This is why cramming doesn't work for long-term retention. You're not giving your brain the chance to forget and then re-strengthen the memory. You can implement this manual with a simple calendar system or use apps like Anki that automatically calculate the optimal review intervals for you. The key is consistency. A little bit of review every day is far more effective than marathon study sessions. Let's talk about note taking because most people are doing this completely wrong too. The goal of taking notes isn't to create a perfect transcript of everything the teacher says, it's to actively engage with the material and create a resource for future review. Here's the problem with most note taking. Students try to write down everything verbatim, which means they're not actually processing the information. They're just acting as human transcription machines. The Cornell note taking system is much more effective. Here's how it works. Divide your page into three sections. Notes section, right side. This is where you write the main content during class. Q column, left side. After class, you write questions or keywords that relate to your notes. Summary section, the bottom part. At the end, you write a brief summary of the main points. The magic happens in the Q column. By turning your notes into questions, you're creating active recall opportunities for later review. The outline method is also highly effective, especially for hierarchical information. You organize information in a structured format with main topics, subtopics, and supporting details. This helps you see the relationships between different concepts. But here's the most important principle. Handwriting beats typing for learning. Research shows that students who take notes by hand perform better on conceptual questions than those who type. When you handwrite, you're forced to process and summarize information rather than just transcribing it. After taking notes, don't just file them away. Use them for active recall practice by covering your notes and trying to recreate the key points from memory. Now, let's talk about the study cycle, a systematic approach to learning that ensures you're not missing any crucial steps. Most students jump straight into studying without proper preparation, which is like trying to build a house without a foundation. Here's the complete study cycle. Step 1. Preview. Before attending a lecture or reading a chapter, spend 5 to 10 minutes previewing the material. Look at headings, subheadings, and any summary points. This gives your brain a framework to recognize new information. Step 2. Attend/read actively. During lectures or reading, focus on understanding rather than just recording. Ask yourself questions like, how does this relate to what I already know? And what are the key concepts here? Step 3. Review within 24 hours. This is crucial and often skipped. Within 24 hours of learning something new, spend 10 to 15 minutes reviewing your notes. This dramatically improves retention. Step 4. Study using active methods. This is where you are using active recall, spaced repetition, and other evidence-based techniques to deeply learn the material. Step 5. Check your understanding. Test yourself regularly to identify gaps in your knowledge. This isn't just about memorization, it's about ensuring you truly understand the concepts. The key insight here is that studying is not a single activity, it's a process. Each step builds on the previous one, and skipping steps reduces the effectiveness of the entire cycle. Here's something that will completely change how you approach studying. Distributed practice. Spacing out your study sessions is dramatically more effective than mass practice, cramming everything into long sessions. Research consistently shows that studying for shorter periods over multiple days leads to better long-term retention than studying for the same total amount of time in fewer, longer sessions. This is called the spacing effect. Why distributed practice works. It forces your brain to repeatedly retrieve information, strengthening neural pathways. It prevents the illusion of knowing that comes from massed practice. It allows time for consolidation between study sessions. It's more sustainable and less mentally exhausting. How to implement distributed practice. Instead of studying biology for 6 hours on Sunday, study for 1 hour each day, Monday through Saturday. The total time is the same, but the learning outcomes are dramatically different. Interleaving effect. Don't just distribute your practice over time. Also mix up different topics within each study session. Instead of spending 2 hours only on calculus, spend 40 minutes on calculus, 40 minutes on chemistry, and 40 minutes on history. This interleaving forces your brain to constantly switch between different types of problems, which improves learning. This might feel more difficult than focusing on one subject at a time, but remember, if your studying feels easy, you're probably not learning as effectively as you could be. Finally, let's talk about optimizing your study environment, because where and how you study can significantly impact your effectiveness. The importance of focus. Multitasking is the enemy of effective studying. Research shows that it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully refocus after a distraction. This means that every time you check your phone or respond to a message, you're losing nearly half an hour of productive study time. Creating a distraction-free environment. Put your phone in another room or use apps that block distracting websites. Find a quiet space where you won't be interrupted. Have all your materials ready before you start studying. Use the Pomodoro technique, 25 minutes of focused study followed by a 5-minute break. The power of variety. Don't always study in the same location. Research shows that varying your study environment can improve retention. Study in libraries sometimes, at home other times, maybe even at your coffee shop. This prevents your learning from becoming too context dependent. Active versus passive study spaces. Your study environment should promote active engagement, not passive consumption. This means having space to write, draw diagrams, and move around. Studying while lying in bed is generally not effective because this promotes a passive mindset. The role of background noises. Complete silence isn't always optimal. Some people concentrate better with light background noises. Classical music or nature sounds can be helpful, but avoid music with lyrics as it can interfere with language processing. So, here's what I want you to take away from this video. Most traditional study methods like rereading and highlighting are ineffective because they don't actively engage your brain. The key is to use techniques that force you to retrieve information from memory. Spaced repetition is one of the most powerful learning techniques ever discovered. By reviewing information at increasing intervals, you can dramatically improve long-term retention. Effective studying is a systematic process, not a single activity. The study cycle ensures you're maximizing every step of the learning process. And finally, your study environment and methods should promote active engagement, not passive consumption. If you found this video helpful, I'd love it if you could give it a thumbs up. And if you want to learn more about productivity and effective learning, definitely subscribe to the channel. But here's what I really want you to do. If this video changed how you think about studying, go check out this video here where I break down the science of memory and how to remember anything. Because understanding how your brain actually works is the foundation of all effective learning. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Once again, this is NurseBrain, inspiring greatness one lesson at a time.